00 Chapter 0 Analysis. Sun Tzu said, "This is war. It is the most important skill in the nation. It is the basis of life and death. It is the philosophy of survival or destruction. You must know it well. Your skill comes from 5 factors. Study these factors when you plan war. You must insist on knowing your situation. 1. Discuss philosophy. 2. Discuss the climate. 3. Discuss the ground. 4. Discuss leadership. 5. Discuss military methods. It starts with your military philosophy. Command your people in a way that gives them a higher shared purpose. You can lead them to death. You can lead them to life. They must never fear danger or dishonesty. Next, you have the climate. It can be sunny or overcast. It can be hot or cold. It includes the timing of the seasons. Next is the terrain. It can be distant or near. It can be difficult or easy. It can be open or narrow. It also determines your life or death. Next is the commander. He must be smart, trustworthy, caring, brave, and strict. Finally, you have your military methods. They shape your organization. They come from your management philosophy. You must master their use. All 5 of these factors are critical. As a commander, you must pay attention to them. Understanding them brings victory. Ignoring them means defeat. 01 You must learn through planning. You must question the situation. You must ask, which government has the right philosophy? Which commander has the skill? Which season and place have the advantage? Which method of command works? Which group of forces has the strength? Which officers and men have the training? Which rewards and punishments make sense? This tells when you will win and when you will lose. Some commanders perform this analysis. If you use these commanders, you will win. Keep them. Some commanders ignore this analysis. If you use these commanders, you will lose. Get rid of them. 02 Plan an advantage by listening. Adjust to the situation. Get assistance from the outside. Influence events. Then planning can find opportunities and give you control. 03 Warfare is one thing. It is a philosophy of deception. When you are ready, you try to appear incapacitated. When active, you pretend inactivity. When you are close to the enemy, you appear distant. When far away, you pretend you are near. You can have an advantage and still entice an opponent. You can be disorganized and still be decisive. You can be ready and still be preparing. You can be strong and still avoid battle. You can be angry and still stop yourself. You can humble yourself and still be confident. You can be relaxed and still be working. You can be close to an ally and still part ways. You can attack a place without planning to do so. You can leave a place without giving away your plan. You will find a place where you can win. You cannot first signal your intentions. 04 Manage to avoid battle until your organization can count on certain victory. You must calculate many advantages. Before you go to battle, your organization's analysis may indicate that you might not win. You can count few advantages. Many advantages add up to victory. Few advantages add up to defeat. How can you know your advantages without analyzing them? We can see where we are by means of our observations. We can foresee our victory or defeat by planning. 10 Chapter 1 Going to war. Sun Tzu said, "Everything depends on your use of military philosophy. Moving the army requires thousands of vehicles. These vehicles must be loaded thousands of times. The army must carry a huge supply of arms. You need 10,000 acres of grain. This results in internal and external shortages. Any army consumes resources like an invader. It uses up glue and paint for wood. It requires armor for its vehicles. People complain about the waste of a vast amount of metal. It will set you back when you attempt to raise tens of thousands of troops. Using a huge army in battle makes success very expensive. Long delays create a dull army and sharp defeats. Attacking enemy cities drains your forces. Long, violent campaigns that exhaust the nation's resources are wrong. Manage a dull army. You will suffer sharp defeats. Drain your forces. Your money will be used up. Your rivals will multiply as your army collapses and they will begin against you. It doesn't matter how smart you are. You cannot get ahead by taking losses. You hear of people going to war too quickly. Still, you won't see a skilled war that lasts a long time. You can fight a war for a long time or you can make your nation strong. You can't do both. 1. Make no assumptions about all the dangers in using military force. Then you won't make assumptions about the benefits of using arms either. 3. You want to make good use of war. Do not raise troops repeatedly. Do not carry too many supplies. Choose to be useful to your nation. Feed off the enemy. Make your army carry only the provisions it needs. 2. The nation impoverishes itself by shipping to troops that are far away. Distant transportation is costly for hundreds of families. Buying goods with the army nearby is also expensive. High prices also exhaust wealth. If you exhaust your wealth, you then quickly hollow out your military. Military forces consume a nation's wealth entirely. War leaves households in the former heart of the nation with nothing. War destroys hundreds of families. Out of every 10 families, war leaves only 7. War empties the government storehouses. Broken armies will get rid of their horses. They will throw down their armor, helmets, and arrows. They will lose their swords and shields. They will leave their wagons without oxen. War will consume 60% of everything you'd have. 3. Because of this, it is the intelligent commander's duty to feed off the enemy. Use a cup of the enemy's food. It is worth 20 of your own. Win a bushel of the enemy's feed. It is worth 20 of your own. You can kill the enemy and frustrate him as well. Take the enemy's strength from him by stealing away his money. Fight for the enemy's supply wagons. Capture his supplies by using overwhelming force. Reward the first who captures them. Then change their banners and flags. Mix them in with your own wagons to increase your supply line. Keep your soldiers strong by providing for them. This is what it means to beat the enemy while you grow more powerful. 4. Make victory in war pay for itself. Avoid expensive, long campaigns. The military commander's knowledge is the key. It determines whether the civilian officials can govern. It determines whether the nation's households are peaceful or a danger to the state. 20 Chapter 2 Planning an Attack. Sun Tzu said, "Everyone relies on the arts of war. A united nation is strong. A divided nation is weak. A united army is strong. A divided army is weak. A united force is strong. A divided force is weak. United men are strong. Divided men are weak. A united unit is strong. A divided unit is weak. Unity works because it enables you to win every battle you fight. Still, this is the foolish goal of a weak leader. Avoid battle and make the enemy's men surrender. This is the right goal for a superior leader. 2. The best policy is to attack while the enemy is still planning. The next best is to disrupt alliances. The next best is to attack the opposing army. The worst is to attack the enemy's cities. This is what happens when you attack a city. You can attempt it, but you can't finish it. First you must make siege engines. You need the right equipment and machinery. It takes 3 months and still you cannot win. Then you try to encircle the area. You use 3 more months without making progress. Your command still doesn't succeed and this angers you. You then try to swarm the city. This kills 1/3 of your officers and men. You are still unable to draw the enemy out of the city. This attack is a disaster. 2. To make good use of war. Make the enemy's troops surrender. You can do this fighting only minor battles. You can draw their men out of their cities. You can do it with small attacks. You can destroy the men of a nation. You must keep your campaign short. You must use total war, fighting with everything you have. Never stop fighting when at war. You can gain complete advantage. To do this, You must plan your strategy of attack. The rules for making war are, if you outnumber enemy forces 10 to 1, surround them. If you outnumber them 5 to 1, attack them. If you outnumber them 2 to 1, divide them. If you are equal, then find an advantageous battle. If you are fewer, defend against them. If you are much weaker, evade them. Small forces are not powerful. However, large forces cannot catch them. 2-3 You must master command. The nation must support you. Supporting the military makes the nation powerful. Not supporting the military makes the nation weak. The army's position is made more difficult by politicians in 3 different ways. Ignorant of the whole army's inability to advance, they order an advance. Ignorant of the whole army's inability to withdraw, they order a withdrawal. We call this tying up the army. Politicians don't understand the army's business. Still, they think they can run an army. This confuses the army's officers. Politicians don't know the army's chain of command. They give the army too much freedom. This will create distrust among the army's officers. The entire army becomes confused and distrusting. This invites invasion by many different rivals. We say correctly that disorder in an army kills victory. 2-4 You must know 5 things to win. Victory comes from knowing when to attack and when to avoid battle. Victory comes from correctly using both large and small forces. Victory comes from everyone sharing the same goals. Victory comes from finding opportunities and problems. Victory comes from having a capable commander and the government leaving him alone. You must know these 5 things. You then know the theory of victory. 2-5 We say, know yourself and know your enemy. You will be safe in every battle. You may know yourself but not know the enemy. You will then lose one battle for every one you win. You may not know yourself or the enemy. You will then lose every battle. 3-0 Chapter 3 Positioning Sun Tzu said, learn from the history of successful battles. Your first actions should deny victory to the enemy. You pay attention to your enemy to find the way to win. You alone can deny victory to the enemy. Only your enemy can allow you to win. You must fight well. You can prevent the enemy's victory. You cannot win unless the enemy enables your victory. We say, you see the opportunity for victory. You don't create it. 3-1 You are sometimes unable to win. You must then defend. You will eventually be able to win. You must then attack. Defend when you have insufficient strength. Attack when you have a surplus of strength. You must defend yourself well. Save your forces and dig in. You must attack well. Move your forces when you have a clear advantage. You must always protect yourself until you can completely triumph. 3-2 Some may see how to win. However, they cannot position their forces where they must. This demonstrates limited ability. Some can struggle to a victory and the whole world may praise their winning. This also demonstrates a limited ability. Win as easily as picking up a fallen hair. Don't use all of your forces. See the time to move. Don't try to find something clever. Hear the clap of thunder. Don't try to hear something subtle. Learn from the history of successful battles. Victory goes to those who make winning easy. A good battle is one that you will obviously win. It doesn't take intelligence to win a reputation. It doesn't take courage to achieve success. You must win your battles without effort. Avoid difficult struggles. Fight when your position must win. You always win by preventing your defeat. You must engage only in winning battles. Position yourself where you cannot lose. Never waste an opportunity to defeat your enemy. You win a war by first assuring yourself of victory. Only afterward do you look for a fight. Outmaneuver the enemy before the first battle and then fight to win. 3-3 You must make good use of war. Study military philosophy and the art of defense. You can control your victory or defeat. This is the art of war. 1. Discuss the distances. 2. Discuss your numbers. 3. Discuss your calculations. 4. Discuss your decisions. 5. Discuss victory. The ground determines the distance. The distance determines your numbers. Your numbers determine your calculations. Your calculations determine your decisions. Your decisions determine your victory. Creating a winning war is like balancing a coin of gold against a coin of silver. Creating a losing war is like balancing a coin of silver against a coin of gold. 3. For winning a battle is always a matter of people. You pour them into a battle like a flood of water pouring into a deep gorge. This is a matter of positioning. 4.0 Chapter 4. Momentum. Sun Tzu said, you control a large group the same as you control a few. You just divide their ranks correctly. You fight a large army the same as you fight a small one. You only need the right position and communication. You may meet a large enemy army. You must be able to sustain an enemy attack without being defeated. You must correctly use both surprise and direct action. Your army's position must increase your strength. Troops flanking an enemy can smash them like eggs. You must correctly use both strength and weakness. 4.1 It is the same in all battles. You use a direct approach to engage the enemy. You use surprise to win. You must use surprise for a successful invasion. Surprise is as infinite as the weather and land. Surprise is as inexhaustible as the flow of a river. You can be stopped and yet recover the initiative. You must use your days and months correctly. If you are defeated, you can recover. You must use the 4 seasons correctly. There are only a few notes in the scale. Yet you can always rearrange them. You can never hear every song of victory. There are only a few basic colors. Yet you can always mix them. You can never see all of the shades of victory. There are only a few flavors. Yet you can always blend them. You can never taste all the flavors of victory. You fight with momentum. There are only a few types of surprises and direct actions. Yet you can always vary the ones you use. There is no limit to the ways you can win. Surprise and direct action give birth to each other. They are like a circle without end. You cannot exhaust all their possible combinations. 4.2 Surging water flows together rapidly. Its pressure washes away boulders. This is momentum. A hawk suddenly strikes a bird. Its contact alone kills the prey. This is timing. You must fight only winning battles. Your momentum must be overwhelming. Your timing must be exact. Your momentum is like the tension of a bent crossbow. Your timing is like the pulling of a trigger. 4.3 War is very complicated and confusing. Battle is chaotic. Nevertheless, you must not allow chaos. War is very sloppy and messy. Positions turn around. Nevertheless, you must never be defeated. Chaos gives birth to control. Fear gives birth to courage. Weakness gives birth to strength. You must control chaos. This depends on your planning. Your men must brave their fears. This depends on their momentum. You have strengths and weaknesses. These come from your position. You must force the enemy to move to your advantage. Use your position. The enemy must follow you. Surrender a position. The enemy must take it. You can offer an advantage to move him. You can use your men to move him. You can use your strength to hold him. 4.4 You want a successful battle. To do this, you must seek momentum. Do not just demand a good fight from your people. You must pick good people and then give them momentum. You must create momentum. You create it with your men during battle. This is comparable to rolling trees and stones. Trees and stones roll because of their shape and weight. Offer men safety and they will stay calm. Endanger them and they will act. Give them a place and they will hold. Round them up and they will march. You make your men powerful in battle with momentum. This should be like rolling round stones down over a high, steep cliff. Momentum is critical. 5.0 Chapter 5 Weakness and Strength. Sun Tzu said, always arrive first to the empty battlefield to await the enemy at your leisure. After the battleground is occupied and you hurry to it, fighting is more difficult. You want a successful battle. Move your men, but not into opposing forces. You can make the enemy come to you. Offer him an advantage. You can make the enemy avoid coming to you. Threaten him with danger. When the enemy is fresh, you can tire him. When he is well fed, you can starve him. When he is relaxed, you can move him. 5-1 Leave any place without haste. Hurry to where you are unexpected. You can easily march hundreds of miles without tiring. To do so, travel through areas that are deserted. You must take whatever you attack. Attack when there is no defense. You must have walls to defend. Defend where it is impossible to attack. Be skilled in attacking. Give the enemy no idea where to defend. Be skillful in your defense. Give the enemy no idea where to attack. 5-2 Be subtle. Be subtle. Arrive without any clear formation. Ghostly. Ghostly. Arrive without a sound. You must use all your skill to control the enemy's decisions. Advance where he can't defend. Charge through his openings. Withdraw where the enemy cannot chase you. Move quickly so that he cannot catch you. Always pick your own battles. The enemy can hide behind high walls and deep trenches. Do not try to win by fighting him directly. Instead, attack a place that he must recapture. Avoid the battles that you don't want. You can divide the ground and yet defend it. Don't give the enemy anything to win. Divert him from coming to where you defend. 5-3 Make other men take a position while you take none. Then focus your forces where the enemy divides his forces. Where you focus, you unite your forces. When the enemy divides, he creates many small groups. You want your large group to attack one of his small ones. Then you have many men where the enemy has but a few. Your larger force can overwhelm his smaller one. Then go on to the next small enemy group. You can take them one at a time. 5-4 You must keep the place that you have chosen as a battleground a secret. The enemy must not know. Force the enemy to prepare his defense in many places. You want the enemy to defend many places. Then you can choose where to meet the enemy. His forces will be weak there. If he reinforces his front lines, he depletes his rear. If he reinforces his rear, he depletes his front. If he reinforces his right flank, he depletes his left. If he reinforces his left flank, he depletes his right. Without knowing the place of attack, he cannot prepare. Without knowing the right place, he will be weak everywhere. The enemy has weak points. Prepare your men against them. He has strong points. Make his men prepare themselves against you. 5-5 You must know the battleground. You must know the time of battle. You can then travel 1,000 miles and still win the battle. The enemy should not know the battleground. He shouldn't know the time of battle. His left flank will be unable to support his right. His right will be unable to support his left. His front lines will be unable to support his rear. His rear will be unable to support his front. His support is distant even if it is only 10 miles away. What unknown place can be close? You control the balance of forces. The enemy may have many men but they are superfluous. How can they help him to victory? We say, you must let victory happen. The enemy may have many men. You can still control him without a fight. 5-6 When you form your strategy, know the strengths and weaknesses of your plan. When you execute a plan, know how to manage both action and inaction. When you take a position, know the deadly and the winning grounds. When you enter into battle, know when you have too many or too few men. Use your position as your war centerpiece. Arrive at the battle without a formation. Don't take a position in advance. Then even the best spies can't report it. Even the wisest general cannot plan to counter you. Take a position where you can triumph using superior numbers. Keep opposing forces ignorant. Everyone should learn your location after your position has given you success. No one should know how your location gives you a winning position. Make a successful battle one from which the enemy cannot recover. You must continually adjust your position to his position. 5-7 Manage your military position like water. Water takes every shape. It avoids the high and moves to the low. Your war can take any shape. It must avoid the strong and strike the weak. Water follows the shape of the land that directs its flow. Your forces follow the enemy, who determines how you win. Make war without a standard approach. Water has no consistent shape. If you follow the enemy's shifts and changes, you can always find a way to win. We call this shadowing. Fight 5 different campaigns without a firm rule for victory. Use all 4 seasons without a consistent position. Each day passes quickly. A month can decide your failure or success. 60 Chapter 6 Armed Conflict. Sun Tzu said, "Everyone uses the arts of war. You accept orders from the government. Then you assemble your army. You organize your men and build camps. You must avoid disasters from armed conflict. Seeking armed conflict can be disastrous. Because of this, a detour can be the shortest path. Because of this, problems can become opportunities. Use an indirect route as your highway. Use the search for advantage to guide you. When you fall behind, you must catch up. When you get ahead, you must wait. You must know the detour that most directly accomplishes your plan. Undertake armed conflict when it creates an advantage. Seeking armed conflict for its own sake is dangerous. 6-1 You can build up an army to fight for an advantage. Then you won't catch the enemy. You can force your army to go fight for an advantage. Then you abandon your heavy supply wagons. You keep only your armor and hurry after the enemy. You avoid stopping day or night. You use many roads at the same time. You go hundreds of miles to fight for an advantage. Then the enemy catches your commanders and your army. Your strong soldiers get there first. Your weaker soldiers follow behind. Using this approach, only 1 in 10 will arrive. You can try to go 50 miles to fight for an advantage. Then your commanders and army will stumble. Using this method, only half of your soldiers will make it. You can try to go 30 miles to fight for an advantage. Then only 2 out of 3 get there. If you make your army travel without good supply lines, your army will die. Without supplies and food, your army will die. If you don't save the harvest, your army will die. Do not let any of your potential enemies know what you are planning. Still, you must not hesitate to form alliances. You must know the mountains and forests. You must know where the obstructions are. You must know where the marshes are. If you don't, you cannot move the army. If you don't, you must use local guides. If you don't, you can't take advantage of the terrain. 6-2 You make war using a deceptive position. If you use deception, then you can move. Using deception, you can upset the enemy and change the situation. You can move as quickly as the wind. You can rise like the forest. You can invade and plunder like fire. You can stay as motionless as a mountain. You can be as mysterious as the fog. You can strike like sounding thunder. Divide your troops to plunder the villages. When on open ground, dividing is an advantage. Don't worry about organization. Just move. Be the first to find a new route that leads directly to a winning plan. This is how you are successful at armed conflict. 6-3 Military experience says, you can speak, but you will not be heard. You must use gongs and drums. You cannot really see your forces just by looking. You must use banners and flags. You must master gongs, drums, banners, and flags. Place people as a single unit where they can all see and hear. You must unite them as one. Then the brave cannot advance alone. The fearful cannot withdraw alone. You must force them to act as a group. In night battles, you must use numerous fires and drums. In day battles, you must use many banners and flags. You must position your people to control what they see and hear. 6-4 You control your army by controlling its morale. As a general, you must be able to control emotions. In the morning, a person's energy is high. During the day, it fades. By evening, a person's thoughts turn to home. You must use your troops wisely. Avoid the enemy's high spirits. Strike when his men are lazy and want to go home. This is how you master energy. Use discipline to await the chaos of battle. Keep relaxed to await a crisis. This is how you master emotion. Stay close to home to await the distant enemy. Stay comfortable to await the weary enemy. Stay well fed to await the hungry enemy. This is how you master power. 6-5 Don't entice the enemy when his ranks are orderly. You must not attack when his formations are solid. This is how you master adaptation. You must follow these military rules. Do not take a position facing the high ground. Do not oppose those with their backs to the wall. Do not follow those who pretend to flee. Do not attack the enemy's strongest men. Do not swallow the enemy's bait. Do not block an army that is heading home. Leave an escape outlet for a surrounded army. Do not press a desperate foe. This is how you use military skills. 7-0 Chapter 7 Adaptability. Sun Tzu said, "Everyone uses the arts of war. As a general, you get your orders from the government. You gather your troops. On dangerous ground, you must not camp. Where the roads intersect, you must join your allies. When an area is cut off, you must not delay in it. When you are surrounded, you must scheme. In a life or death situation, you must fight. There are roads that you must not take. There are armies that you must not fight. There are strongholds that you must not attack. There are positions that you must not defend. There are government commands that must not be obeyed." Military leaders must be experts in knowing how to adapt to find an advantage. This will teach you the use of war. Some commanders are not open to making adjustments to find an advantage. They can know the shape of the terrain. Still, they cannot find an advantageous position. Some military commanders do not know how to adjust their methods. They can find an advantageous position. Still, they cannot use their men effectively. 7-1 You must be creative in your planning. You must adapt to your opportunities and weaknesses. You can use a variety of approaches and still have a consistent result. You must adjust to a variety of problems and consistently solve them. 7-2 You can deter your potential enemy by using his weaknesses against him. You can keep your potential enemy's army busy by giving it work to do. You can rush your potential enemy by offering him an advantageous position. 7-3 You must make use of war. Do not trust that the enemy isn't coming. Trust your readiness to meet him. Do not trust that the enemy won't attack. Rely only on your ability to pick a place that the enemy can't attack. 7-4 You can exploit 5 different faults in a leader. If he is willing to die, you can kill him. If he wants to survive, you can capture him. He may have a quick temper. You can then provoke him with insults. If he has a delicate sense of honor, you can disgrace him. If he loves his people, you can create problems for him. In every situation, look for these 5 weaknesses. They are common faults in commanders. They always lead to military disasters. To overthrow an army, you must kill its general. To do this, you must use these 5 weaknesses. You must always look for them. 8-0 Chapter 8 Armed March. Sun Tzu said, "Anyone moving an army must adjust to the enemy. When caught in the mountains, rely on their valleys. Position yourself on the heights facing the sun. To win your battles, never attack uphill. This is how you position your army in the mountains. When water blocks you, keep far away from it. Let the invader cross the river and wait for him. Do not meet him in midstream. Wait for him to get half his forces across and then take advantage of the situation. You need to be able to fight. You can't do that if you are caught in water when you meet an invader. Position yourself upstream, facing the sun. Never face against the current. Always position your army upstream when near the water. You may have to move across marshes. Move through them quickly without stopping. You may meet the enemy in the middle of a marsh. You must keep on the water grasses. Keep your back to a clump of trees. This is how you position your army in a marsh. On a level plateau, take a position that you can change. Keep the higher ground on your right and to the rear. Keep danger in front of you and safety behind. This is how you position yourself on a level plateau. You can find an advantage in all four of these situations. Learn from the great emperor who used positioning to conquer his four rivals. 8-1 armies are stronger on high ground and weaker on low. They are better camping on sunny southern hillsides than on shady northern ones. Provide for your army's health and place men correctly. Your army will be free from disease. Done correctly, this means victory. You must sometimes defend on a hill or riverbank. You must keep on the south side in the sun. Keep the uphill slope at your right rear. This will give the advantage to your army. It will always give you a position of strength. 8-2 Stop the march when the rain swells the river into rapids. You may want to ford the river. Wait until it subsides. All regions can have seasonal mountain streams that can cut you off. There are seasonal lakes. There are seasonal blockages. There are seasonal jungles. There are seasonal floods. There are seasonal fissures. Get away from all these quickly. Do not get close to them. Keep them at a distance. Maneuver the enemy close to them. Position yourself facing these dangers. Push the enemy back into them. Danger can hide on your army's flank. There are reservoirs and lakes. There are reeds and thickets. There are mountain woods. Their dense vegetation provides a hiding place. You must cautiously search through them. They can always hide in ambush. 8-3 Sometimes, the enemy is close by but remains calm. Expect to find him in a natural stronghold. Other times he remains at a distance but provokes battle. He wants you to attack him. He sometimes shifts the position of his camp. He is looking for an advantageous position. The trees in the forest move. Expect that the enemy is coming. The tall grasses obstruct your view. Be suspicious. The birds take flight. Expect that the enemy is hiding. Animals startle. Expect an ambush. Notice the dust. It sometimes rises high in a straight line. Vehicles are coming. The dust appears low in a wide band. Foot soldiers are coming. The dust seems scattered in different areas. The enemy is collecting firewood. Any dust is light and settling down. The enemy is setting up camp. 8-4 Your enemy speaks humbly while building up forces. He is planning to advance. The enemy talks aggressively and pushes as if to advance. He is planning to retreat. Small vehicles exit his camp first. They move the army's flanks. They are forming a battle line. Your enemy tries to sue for peace but without offering a treaty. He is plotting. Your enemy's men run to leave and yet form ranks. You should expect action. Half his army advances and the other half retreats. He is luring you. Your enemy plans to fight but his men just stand there. They are starving. Those who draw water drink it first. They are thirsty. Your enemy sees an advantage but does not advance. His men are tired. Birds gather. Your enemy has abandoned his camp. Your enemy's soldiers call in the night. They are afraid. Your enemy's army is raucous. The men do not take their commander seriously. Your enemy's banners and flags shift. Order is breaking down. Your enemy's officers are irritable. They are exhausted. Your enemy's men kill their horses for meat. They are out of provisions. They don't put their pots away or return to their tents. They are desperate. Enemy troops appear sincere and agreeable, but their men are slow to speak to each other. They are no longer united. Your enemy offers too many incentives to his men. He is in trouble. Your enemy gives out too many punishments. His men are weary. Your enemy first acts violently and then is afraid of your larger force. His best troops have not arrived. Your enemy comes in a conciliatory manner. He needs to rest and recuperate. Your enemy is angry and appears to welcome battle. This goes on for a long time, but he doesn't attack. He also doesn't leave the field. You must watch him carefully. 8-5 If you are too weak to fight, you must find more men. In this situation, you must not act aggressively. You must unite your forces. Prepare for the enemy. Recruit men and stay where you are. You must be cautious about making plans and adjust to the enemy. You must gather more men. 8-6 With new, undedicated soldiers, you can depend on them if you discipline them. They will tend to disobey your orders. If they do not obey your orders, they will be useless. You can depend on seasoned, dedicated soldiers. But you must avoid disciplining them without reason. Otherwise, you cannot use them. You must control your soldiers with esprit de corps. You must bring them together by winning victories. You must get them to believe in you. Make it easy for people to know what to do by training your people. Your people will then obey you. If you do not make it easy for people to know what to do, you won't train your people. Then they will not obey. Make your commands easy to follow. You must understand the way a crowd thinks. 9-0 Chapter 9. Field position. Sun Tzu said, some field positions are unobstructed. Some field positions are entangling. Some field positions are supporting. Some field positions are constricted. Some field positions give you a barricade. Some field positions are spread out. You can attack from some positions easily. Other forces can meet you easily as well. We call these unobstructed positions. These positions are open. On them, be the first to occupy a high, sunny area. Put yourself where you can defend your supply routes. Then you will have an advantage. You can attack from some positions easily. Disaster arises when you try to return to them. These are entangling positions. These field positions are one-sided. Wait until your enemy is unprepared. You can then attack from these positions and win. Avoid a well-prepared enemy. You will try to attack and lose. Since you can't return, you will meet disaster. These field positions offer no advantage. You cannot leave some positions without losing an advantage. If the enemy leaves this ground, he also loses an advantage. We call these supporting field positions. These positions strengthen you. The enemy may try to entice you away. Still, hold your position. You must entice the enemy to leave. You then strike him as he is leaving. These field positions offer an advantage. Some field positions are constricted. Get to these positions first. You must fill these areas and await the enemy. Sometimes, the enemy will reach them first. If he fills them, do not follow him. However, if he fails to fill them, you can go after him. Some field positions give you a barricade. Get to these positions first. You must occupy their southern, sunny heights in order to await the enemy. Sometimes the enemy occupies these areas first. If so, entice him away. Never go after him. Some field positions are too spread out. Your force may seem equal to the enemy. Still you will lose if you provoke a battle. If you fight, you will not have any advantage. These are the 6 types of field positions. Each battleground has its own rules. As a commander, you must know where to go. You must examine each position closely. 9-1 Some armies can be outmaneuvered. Some armies are too lax. Some armies fall down. Some armies fall apart. Some armies are disorganized. Some armies must retreat. Know all 6 of these weaknesses. They create weak timing and disastrous positions. They all arise from the army's commander. One general can command a force equal to the enemy. Still his enemy outflanks him. This means that his army can be outmaneuvered. Another can have strong soldiers but weak officers. This means that his army is too lax. Another has strong officers but weak soldiers. This means that his army will fall down. Another has sub-commanders that are angry and defiant. They attack the enemy and fight their own battles. The commander cannot know the battlefield. This means that his army will fall apart. Another general is weak and easygoing. He fails to make his orders clear. His officers and men lack direction. This shows in his military formations. This means that his army is disorganized. Another general fails to predict the enemy. He pits his small forces against larger ones. His weak forces attack stronger ones. He fails to pick his fights correctly. This means that his army must retreat. You must know all about these 6 weaknesses. You must understand the philosophies that lead to defeat. When a general arrives, you can know what he will do. You must study each general carefully. 9.2 You must control your field position. It will always strengthen your army. You must predict the enemy to overpower him and win. You must analyze the obstacles, dangers, and distances. This is the best way to command. Understand your field position before you meet opponents. Then you will succeed. You can fail to understand your field position and meet opponents. Then you will fail. You must provoke battle when you will certainly win. It doesn't matter what you are ordered. The government may order you not to fight. Despite that, you must always fight when you will win. Sometimes provoking a battle will lead to a loss. The government may order you to fight. Despite that, you must avoid battle when you will lose. You must advance without desiring praise. You must retreat without fear and shame. The only correct move is to preserve your troops. This is how you serve your country. This is how you reward your nation. 9.3 Think of your soldiers as little children. You can make them follow you into a deep river. Treat them as your beloved children. You can lead them all to their deaths. Some leaders are generous but cannot use their men. They love their men but cannot command them. Their men are unruly and disorganized. These leaders create spoiled children. Their soldiers are useless. 9.4 You may know what your soldiers will do in an attack. You may not know if the enemy is vulnerable to attack. You will then win only half the time. You may know that the enemy is vulnerable to attack. You may not know if your men have the capability of attacking him. You will still win only half the time. You may know that the enemy is vulnerable to attack. You may know that your men are ready to attack. You may not, however, know how to position yourself in the field for battle. You will still win only half the time. You must know how to make war. You can then act without confusion. You can attempt anything. We say, know the enemy and know yourself. Your victory will be painless. Know the weather and the field. Your victory will be complete. 10.0 Chapter 10 Types of Terrain. Sun Tzu said, use the art of war. Know when the terrain will scatter you. Know when the terrain will be easy. Know when the terrain will be disputed. Know when the terrain is open. Know when the terrain is intersecting. Know when the terrain is dangerous. Know when the terrain is bad. Know when the terrain is confined. Know when the terrain is deadly. Warring parties must sometimes fight inside their own territory. This is scattering terrain. When you enter hostile territory, your penetration is shallow. This is easy terrain. Some terrain gives you an advantageous position, but it gives others an advantageous position as well. This will be disputed terrain. You can use some terrain to advance easily. Others can advance along with you. This is open terrain. Everyone shares access to a given area. The first one to arrive there can gather a larger group than anyone else. This is intersecting terrain. You can penetrate deeply into hostile territory. Then many hostile cities are behind you. This is dangerous terrain. There are mountain forests. There are dangerous obstructions. There are reservoirs. Everyone confronts these obstacles on a campaign. They make bad terrain. In some areas, the entry passage is narrow. You are closed in as you try to get out of them. In this type of area, a few people can effectively attack your much larger force. This is confined terrain. You can sometimes survive only if you fight quickly. You will die if you delay. This is deadly terrain. To be successful, you must control scattering terrain by avoiding battle. Control easy terrain by not stopping. Control disputed terrain by not attacking. Control open terrain by staying with the enemy's forces. Control intersecting terrain by uniting with your allies. Control dangerous terrain by plundering. Control bad terrain by keeping on the move. Control confined terrain by using surprise. Control deadly terrain by fighting. 10-1 Go to an area that is known to be good for waging war. Use it to cut off the enemy's contact between his front and back lines. Prevent his small parties from relying on his larger force. Stop his strong divisions from rescuing his weak ones. Prevent his officers from getting their men together. Chase his soldiers apart to stop them from amassing. Harass them to prevent their ranks from forming. When joining battle gives you an advantage, you must do it. When it isn't to your benefit, you must avoid it. A daring soldier may ask, "A large, organized enemy army and its general are coming. What do I do to prepare for them?" Tell him. First seize an area that the enemy must have. Then he will pay attention to you. Mastering speed is the essence of war. Take advantage of a large enemy's inability to keep up. Use a philosophy of avoiding difficult situations. Attack the area where he doesn't expect you. 10-2 You must use the philosophy of an invader. Invade deeply and then concentrate your forces. This controls your men without oppressing them. Get your supplies from the riches of the territory. It is sufficient to supply your whole army. Take care of your men and do not overtax them. Your esprit de corps increases your momentum. Keep your army moving and plan for surprises. Make it difficult for the enemy to count your forces. Position your men where there is no place to run. They will then face death without fleeing. They will find a way to survive. Your officers and men will fight to their utmost. Military officers who are committed lose their fear. When they have nowhere to run, they must stand firm. Deep in enemy territory, they are captives. Since they cannot escape, they will fight. Commit your men completely. Without being posted, they will be on guard. Without being asked, they will get what is needed. Without being forced, they will be dedicated. Without being given orders, they can be trusted. Stop them from guessing by removing all their doubts. Stop them from dying by giving them no place to run. Your officers may not be rich. Nevertheless, they still desire plunder. They may die young. Nevertheless, they still want to live forever. You must order the time of attack. Officers and men may sit and weep until their lapels are wet. When they stand up, tears may stream down their cheeks. Put them in a position where they cannot run. They will show the greatest courage under fire. 10-3 Make good use of war. This demands instant reflexes. You must develop these instant reflexes. Act like an ordinary mountain snake. If people strike your head, then stop them with your tail. If they strike your tail, then stop them with your head. If they strike your middle, then use both your head and tail. A daring soldier asks, "Can any army imitate these instant reflexes?" We answer, it can. To command and get the most out of proud people, you must study adversity. People work together when they are in the same boat during a storm. In this situation, one rescues the other just as the right hand helps the left. Use adversity correctly. Tether your horses and bury your wagon's wheels. Still, you can't depend on this alone. An organized force is braver than lone individuals. This is the art of organization. Put the tough and weak together. You must also use the terrain. Make good use of war. Unite your men as one. Never let them give up. 10-4 The commander must be a military professional. This requires confidence and detachment. You must maintain dignity and order. You must control what your men see and hear. They must follow you without knowing your plans. You can reinvent your men's roles. You can change your plans. You can use your men without their understanding. 9 You must shift your campgrounds. You must take detours from the ordinary routes. You must use your men without giving them your strategy. A commander provides what is needed now. This is like climbing high and being willing to kick away your ladder. You must be able to lead your men deep into different surrounding territory. And yet, you can discover the opportunity to win. You must drive men like a flock of sheep. You must drive them to march. You must drive them to attack. You must never let them know where you are headed. You must unite them into a great army. You must then drive them against all opposition. This is the job of a true commander. You must adapt to the different terrain. You must adapt to find an advantage. You must manage your people's affections. You must study all these skills. 10.5 Always use the philosophy of invasion. Deep invasions concentrate your forces. Shallow invasions scatter your forces. When you leave your country and cross the border, you must take control. This is always critical ground. You can sometimes move in any direction. This is always an intersecting ground. You can penetrate deeply into a territory. This is always dangerous ground. You penetrate only a little way. This is always easy ground. Your retreat is closed and the path ahead tight. This is always confined ground. There is sometimes no place to run. This is always deadly ground. To use scattering terrain correctly, you must inspire your men's devotion. On easy terrain, you must keep in close communication. On disputed terrain, you try to hamper the enemy's progress. On open terrain, you must carefully defend your chosen position. On intersecting terrain, you must solidify your alliances. On dangerous terrain, you must ensure your food supplies. On bad terrain, you must keep advancing along the road. On confined terrain, you must stop information leaks from your headquarters. On deadly terrain, you must show what you can do by killing the enemy. Make your men feel like an army. Surround them and they will defend themselves. If they cannot avoid it, they will fight. If they are under pressure, they will obey. 10.6 Do the right thing when you don't know your different enemies' plans. Don't attempt to meet them. You don't know the position of mountain forests, dangerous obstructions, and reservoirs. Then you cannot march the army. You don't have local guides. You won't get any of the benefits of the terrain. There are many factors in war. You may lack knowledge of any one of them. If so, it is wrong to take a nation into war. You must be able to control your government's war. If you divide a big nation, it will be unable to put together a large force. Increase your enemy's fear of your ability. Prevent his forces from getting together and organizing. Do the right thing and do not arrange outside alliances before their time. You will not have to assert your authority prematurely. Trust only yourself and your self-interest. This increases the enemy's fear of you. You can make one of his allies withdraw. His whole nation can fall. Distribute rewards without worrying about having a system. Halt without the government's command. Attack with the whole strength of your army. Use your army as if it were a single man. Attack with skill. Do not discuss it. Attack when you have an advantage. Do not talk about the dangers. When you launch your army into deadly ground, even if it stumbles, it can still survive. You can be weakened in a deadly battle and yet be stronger afterward. Even a large force can fall into misfortune. If you fall behind, however, you can still turn defeat into victory. You must use the skills of war. To survive, you must adapt yourself to your enemy's purpose. You must stay with him no matter where he goes. It may take 1,000 miles to kill the general. If you correctly understand him, you can find the skill to do it. 10.7 Manage your government correctly at the start of a war. Close your borders and tear up passports. Block the passage of envoys. Encourage the halls of power to rise to the occasion. You must use any means to put an end to politics. Your enemy's people will leave you an opening. You must instantly invade through it. 8 Immediately seize a place that they love. Do it quickly. Trample any border to pursue the enemy. Use your judgment about when to fight. Doing the right thing at the start of war is like approaching a woman. Your enemy's men must open the door. After that, you should act like a streaking rabbit. The enemy will be unable to catch you. 11.0 Chapter 11 Attacking with Fire. Sun Tzu said, there are 5 ways of attacking with fire. The first is burning troops. The second is burning supplies. The third is burning supply transport. The fourth is burning storehouses. The fifth is burning camps. 7. To make fire, you must have the resources. To build a fire, you must prepare the raw materials. To attack with fire, you must be in the right season. To start a fire, you must have the time. 11. Choose the right season. The weather must be dry. Choose the right time. Pick a season when the grass is as high as the side of a cart. You can tell the proper days by the stars in the night sky. You want days when the wind rises in the morning. 11. Everyone attacks with fire. You must create 5 different situations with fire and be able to adjust to them. You start a fire inside the enemy's camp. Then attack the enemy's periphery. You launch a fire attack, but the enemy remains calm. Wait and do not attack. The fire reaches its height. Follow its path if you can. If you can't follow it, stay where you are. Spreading fires on the outside of camp can kill. You can't always get fire inside the enemy's camp. Take your time in spreading it. Set the fire when the wind is at your back. Don't attack into the wind. Daytime winds last a long time. Night winds fade quickly. Every army must know how to adjust to the 5 possible attacks by fire. Use many men to guard against them. 11. When you use fire to assist your attacks, you are clever. Water can add force to an attack. You can also use water to disrupt an enemy. It does not, however, take his resources. 11. You win in battle by getting the opportunity to attack. It is dangerous if you fail to study how to accomplish this achievement. As commander, you cannot waste your opportunities. We say, a wise leader plans success. A good general studies it. If there is little to be gained, don't act. If there is little to win, do not use your men. If there is no danger, don't fight. As leader, you cannot let your anger interfere with the success of your forces. As commander, you cannot let yourself become enraged before you go to battle. Join the battle only when it is in your advantage to act. If there is no advantage in joining a battle, stay put. Anger can change back into happiness. Rage can change back into joy. A nation once destroyed cannot be brought back to life. Dead men do not return to the living. This fact must make a wise leader cautious. A good general is on guard. Your philosophy must be to keep the nation peaceful and the army intact. 12. Chapter 12. Using SPIES, Sun Tzu said, all successful armies require thousands of men. They invade and march thousands of miles. Whole families are destroyed. Other families must be heavily taxed. Every day, a large amount of money must be spent. Internal and external events force people to move. They are unable to work while on the road. They are unable to find and hold a useful job. This affects 70% of thousands of families. You can watch and guard for years. Then a single battle can determine victory in a day. Despite this, bureaucrats worship the value of their salary money too dearly. They remain ignorant of the enemy's condition. The result is cruel. They are not leaders of men. They are not servants of the state. They are not masters of victory. People need an intelligent leader and a worthy commander. You must move your troops to the right places to beat others. You must accomplish your attack and escape unharmed. This requires foreknowledge. You can obtain foreknowledge. You can't get it from demons or spirits. You can't see it from professional experience. You can't check it with analysis. You can only get it from other people. You must always know the enemy's situation. 12. You must use 5 types of spies. You need local spies. You need inside spies. You need double agents. You need doomed spies. You need surviving spies. You need all 5 types of spies. No one must discover your methods. You will then be able to put together a true picture. This is the commander's most valuable resource. You need local spies. Get them by hiring people from the countryside. You need inside spies. Win them by subverting government officials. You need double agents. Discover enemy agents and convert them. You need doomed spies. Deceive professionals into being captured. Let them know your orders. They then take those orders to your enemy. You need surviving spies. Someone must return with a report. 12. Your job is to build a complete army. No relations are as intimate as the ones with spies. No rewards are too generous for spies. No work is as secret as that of spies. If you aren't clever and wise, you can't use spies. If you aren't fair and just, you can't use spies. If you can't see the small subtleties, you won't get the truth from spies. Pay attention to small, trifling details. Spies are helpful in every area. Spies are the first to hear information, so they must not spread information. Spies who give your location or talk to others must be killed along with those to whom they have talked. 12. You may want to attack an army's position. You may want to attack a certain fortification. You may want to kill people in a certain place. You must first know the guarding general. You must know his left and right flanks. You must know his hierarchy. You must know the way in. You must know where different people are stationed. You must demand this information from your spies. You want to know the enemy spies in order to convert them into your men. You find sources of information and bribe them. You must bring them in with you. You must obtain them as double agents and use them as your emissaries. Do this correctly and carefully. You can contact both local and inside spies and obtain their support. Do this correctly and carefully. You create doomed spies by deceiving professionals. You can use them to give false information. Do this correctly and carefully. You must have surviving spies capable of bringing you information at the right time. These are the 5 different types of intelligence work. You must be certain to master them all. You must be certain to create double agents. You cannot afford to be too cost-conscious in creating these double agents. 12. This technique created the success of ancient Shang. This is how the Shang held its dynasty. You must always be careful of your success. Learn from Liu Ya of Shang. Be a smart commander and a good general. You do this by using your best and brightest people for spying. This is how you achieve the greatest success. This is how you meet the necessities of war. The whole army's position and ability to move depends on these spies.